I'm about to levitate.
Take a shot for every time you talking shit, and I'll be drunker than a bitch that's going out and getting lit. I'm popping out, so peep the fit. You been a snitch, I plead the fifth. I got an itch, you need a switch. I'm in the rinse, you see the drip. Keep it a buck, I'm really a pop. I wanted a little, but bought it a lot. I got a million, baddie a watch. Just give me a year and I got it unlocked. Yeah, I'm about to slow the beat down. Yeah, bet you never met a cracker that could rap like this. So smooth with the rhyming that they call me the Ritz. On time, perfect timing, you can't call it like this. And if I'm calling it quits, I'ma be born my fist. Just left them all with your bitch and took her to justice. Cause if she acting like a kid, then she gon' need to fit. And I ain't just throwing one, yeah, but she's throwing one. Only at the strip club.
What's up? What's up? Oh, am I frozen? Let's get a little update on that. Why am I frozen? I don't know why I'm frozen. I guess we'll switch the camera. We'll go to the desktop camera. We'll give it one more shot. What a great way to start off the show, right? You know, camera's just not working. We got the brand new camera right set up over there, and it just doesn't want to work. So I'm debating, do I want to go fix my camera or do I want to get started? I'm going to go fix my camera real quick, and then we will get right into the Giants discussion this week. They got the Washington Commanders, the 1-5 New York Giants. We're going to talk about it real quick. But before we do, let's play some highlights from week 6.
From the 46, his pass deflected in the air, intercepted by Michael McFadden. Bobby Okereke continued. Good back to him. Right back to the secondary. Barkley back to the outside. Saquon Barkley. So the Giants at the Bills right at us. We're going to return
yes,
the favor.
they're not playing like they did a year ago or 2 years ago, but they're still the Buffalo Bills. They're still a very good team. And they were in the game. They had a chance to win it. It came down to the last play. So I got to admit it, the Giants might have something. But if they lose this week, it's going to be tough to convince me that they shouldn't sell all their trade chips at the deadline. That's including Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller, maybe even Bobby Okereke. Let's let loose if they lose. But we're going to be talking predictions. If you want to join me, I'm going to leave the link in the description to join. So if you want to come in and join and give me your takes on this Giants game this Sunday, or about Daniel Jones' injury, or about Saquon Barkley's trade rumors, make sure you join. But I'll be right back.
From the 46, his pass deflected in the air, intercepted by Michael McFadden. Bobby Okereke continued. Good back to him. Right back to the secondary. Barkley bouncing to the outside. Saquon Barkley. So the Giants at the Bills right at us. We're going to return the favor.
Taron Johnson against Waller. No call. And game over.
From the 46, his pass deflected in the air, intercepted by Michael McFadden. Bobby Okereke continued. Good back to him. Right back to the secondary. Barkley bouncing to the outside. Saquon Barkley. So the Giants at the Bills right at us. We're going to return the favor.
Taron Johnson against Waller. No call. And game over.
From the 46, his pass deflected in the air, intercepted by Michael McFadden. Bobby Okereke continued. Good back to him. Right back to the secondary. Barkley bouncing to the outside. Saquon Barkley.
All right, I'm back. Let's go.
We're going to return the
5 minutes in, but, you know, we're here.
No call.
All right, who's going to win this week? The Washington Commanders or the New York Giants? If I had to guess, I might say the New York Giants because, listen, even though Washington put up a fight, again, it's a good old Philadelphia Eagles that lost to the New York Jets this past week. I still think that the New York Giants might have enough because with Saquon Barkley back, who had 94 rushing yards last week, 94 rushing yards on a whole lot of carries. I think 24 carries. So the 94 rushing yards from Saquon Barkley was for sure. Oh, we got a comment. Can't wait for the Giants to beat the Washington football team, not even calling them the Commanders. Okay. But let's go over it. The New York Giants right now, they have one of the worst offenses in football, one of the worst defenses in football, and the Commanders pretty much the same thing. Commanders sitting at 3-3. Giants quite opposite, 1-5. Fourth in the NFC East. Washington a slot above them, third. It's the same thing. Philadelphia Eagles they're gonna run away with this division eventually, even though they just lost to the New York Jets. They're still gonna run away with it. They got the best team, no doubt about it. So NFC East wise, none of these teams are winning. So it's not even really that division matchup interesting scenario. No. If the Giants lose, they're going to have to sell. But they might have a shot because the Giants, even though in total yards this year, they're 30th with 294 yards per game. Passing yards, they're 31st, 166.7 yards per game in that stat. Rushing yards, 21st. I mean, Saquon has missed quite a few times. So you got to take that into account. Last week, he did have that 94 rushing yards. So that's a very good sign from Saquon. But if they keep losing, you never know. With 1 year remaining on that contract, obviously he got franchise tagged over the offseason by Joe Shane. Couldn't get a long-term contract. He would be a very good trade chip for the Giants that could get him very good draft equity. So we'll see what the Giants want to do with Saquon Barkley, but that's a later topic. But rushing yards, total as a team, the Giants aren't doing too well. But with Saquon back, they should be able to do well considering the Washington Commanders have the 23rd ranked rushing defense in the NFL right now. Points wise, they're 28th in the league with 27.8. Oh, that's defense wise. 32nd in points. Yeah, so they're the worst scoring offense in football. Obviously, we all know the first few weeks they got shut out in week 1 by the Dallas Cowboys. Week 2, they didn't put up any points in the first half, and then they had that great fourth quarter comeback that Daniel Jones, and you could say what you want about Barkley not leading the charge, but he had a very good receiving touchdown there too, and he did have that to make it a one-score game against the Arizona Cardinals. And then you also had the one touchdown to make it 28-14 too. So Saquon had 2 touchdowns that game. So as much as you want to say Jones can play without Saquon, he can't. Saquon is the Giants. And as much as I hate to say it, it's clear. When the Giants don't have Saquon, they're a completely different team. That's clear. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't trade him and take advantage of the scenario that they might be in. If they're 1-6 after this week, got to think about trading him. Later topic, though. Let's keep it rolling. Third down percentage, the Giants rank 17th in defensive-wise for the Washington Commanders. They are 18th in third down percentage on defense. So pretty much even there. So third down is going to be probably where the game – it's always where the game is won. But for this one, for sure, where the game is won. When they were on the 1 yard line, I kind of questioned the play call, even when they're trying to throw the ball to Darren Waller there. I mean, Saquon did have 94 rushing yards. Why not just give it one more shot? And then they could have beat the Buffalo Bills. So that's weird. Oh, here we go. Let's see. We got a score prediction. Giants 27, the Washington football team 25. That's a pretty good score prediction. Go out there and FanDuel and bet it. Why not? Let's see it. You make a lot of money. Just throw $5. You probably win like 1,000 with that odds. Yeah, but I think the Giants could definitely slide by. When you think about Tyrod Taylor, obviously the first thing you think of is injuries because of his injury history with Buffalo. But now with New York, he's been here as the backup, and he's actually done pretty well as a backup. He kept him in the game last week. He didn't throw any interceptions. Which is something that Daniel Jones has done quite a few times this season is throw interceptions. I believe he has 6 on the year. So that's a plus. And that's Dayball's whole thing. Don't turn the ball over. And that's what it was last year. But now they've been taking shots with Jones, and it just hasn't been working out. So now we see Daboll kind of going to last year's game plan, which is, okay, Saquon's going to be the guy, and we're going to play a game in the passing offense where we're just going to try to not turn the ball over and let our defense do the work. Because honestly, the defense is not that bad. It's starting to come along. Kayvon Thibodeau has had quite a few sacks in his past couple of weeks. So keep an eye on Kayvon Thibodeau. He might be turning a corner now. He's obviously struggled early on in his career. Rookie year was terrible. Early on in the season against the Dallas Cowboys, he had like 1 sack, but it was garbage time sack, so it doesn't really matter. And then next 2 weeks, he kind of struggled, but past 3 weeks, I'd say he's really turned a corner. So good for Kayvon Thibodeau. Aziz Ojulari, I mean, he's just always hurt, so it's really hard to say anything about him. Leonard Williams, he's got to stay healthy too. That's a key because he could be a factor. And then Deonte Banks is playing amazing. Deonte Banks is playing really well. He's got a couple tough matchups so far early on this year, and he's done quite well. So Deonte Banks, first-round pick for the Giants this past year, and looking pretty good. So good pick by Joe Shane there. If he can keep it up, he might be one of the best cornerbacks in the game. Who knows? But if I had to pick this game, I think I would go. I'm gonna agree with you, my man. I think the New York Giants would slide by with a victory. I'm not sure about 27-25. I honestly don't think that's gonna be. I don't think we're gonna see a high-scoring game. I think the Giants defense and the Washington defense, they're both good defenses. Statistically, it doesn't show it so far on the season. I mean, you look at both their defenses. Let's go over it. Total yards, the Giants give up the 25th most yards in the NFL right now. The Washington football team, as you're calling it, the Commanders, they give up the 28th most yards in the NFL. So 2 terrible defenses when you look at the stats, right? But when you look at the guys that they have, you're like, okay, it may work. I mean, Washington's defense last year was great. The Giants' defense was but, they're young. They're very young. It's a very young defense. So who knows? I think it's going to be a defensive game. I don't see it 27-25, to be honest, so I will disagree with you there. But what I will say is I think the Giants still can win this game, but I think it's going to be a defensive battle. If I had to guess the score, I'm going probably 16-9. I think let's go, even though the Giants scored 9 points, so that might be cliche, but I think the Giants defense can play pretty good. And I think Sam Howell, I mean, even though he tore it up his first few weeks on the season, he's looked like shit the past few weeks. Let's be real. Excuse my French, but let's for real. I'm going to curse on this show because who's the boss? Oh, yeah, me. So, yeah, he's looked like shit. 9 touchdowns on the year, 6 interceptions, and he threw 4 interceptions against Buffalo. Didn't throw any interceptions against Atlanta. He actually had a pretty good game. 14-23, 151 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he also got sacked 5 times. Got sacked 5 times against Chicago. Got sacked 5 times against Philadelphia. Got sacked 9 times against Buffalo. Sacked 4 times against Denver's terrible defense. 6 times against Arizona. So what's the key to victory? Get to Sam Howell. Pretty obvious. So sack Sam Howell, Kayvon Thibodeau, you want to get up there, go get up there. Kayvon Thibodeau can add on to his sack total already on the year. How many sacks does he have already? Right now, he's got 4 sacks. 4 sacks through 6 games. Good for you, Kayvon. Good for you. I want to see more, though. I want to see consistent pressures, forced turnovers, such as fumble. Yeah, overall. Just, I want to see more pressure from him, not just a sack here and there, if that makes sense. Also, Okereke is playing very well, too. He's got 33 solo tackles on the year, top 10 in football again. So keep it up for him. And Xavier McKinney, when he's on the field, like I said, the Giant, I've said it numerous times over the offseason pods that I did. McKinney is a great player. And if the Giants do end up selling, let's say they do lose this week and they decide to sell, I don't think McKinney's a guy that they should sell. I think he's a guy that's a leader. I think he's only going to get better and better. And he's already one of the better safeties in football. So McKinney, you got to keep him no matter how this season goes because he's that good. Other guys like Okiri, maybe. Leonard Williams, maybe. Olajari, if he can get healthy, maybe. Think about trading him. Who knows? But that's if they lose. Now, listen, playoffs, I don't think it's going to happen for this Giants team. I really find it hard to believe. So that's why, even though I think the Giants are going to win this week, I still think they should be sellers. And one of the first guys that they should trade, in my opinion, is this guy right here.
Get back to him. Right back to the secondary. Barkley bouncing to the outside. Saquon Barkley. So the Giants said the Bills ran it at us. We're going to return the favor. Barkley
is going to pass. Looking for Barkley. Diving to the pylon. In for the touchdown.
I don't want to get traded. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to get traded anywhere. It's not an easy thing to do. You got to move. I have a family. I would love to be here, but like I said, it's not in my control. My focus is to be the leader that I can be for the team and try to get this thing on the right track.
Well, you see it right there. Saquon don't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay here. He wants to stay put with the New York Giants. And you can't blame him. He was drafted here, second overall, right above Sam Darnold when the Giants clearly could have taken a quarterback. It's been a long day. Yeah, so he wants to stay. But like he said there, it's out of his control. It is completely out of Saquon's control. And I know a lot of Giants fans don't like hearing it and don't like talking about it, but he's on a 1-year deal. The Giants are 1-5. It's a long shot about making the playoffs this year. So why not? We see the trade value for star players is only going up and up and up and up. You saw what the Panthers got back for Christian McCaffrey last year. It's only going to get better and better. We see the NFL trade deadline getting more interesting as years go by. I mean, it used to be boring. The trade GMs used to be afraid, but I feel like with the NBA picking up their trades and the MLB picking up their trades, I feel like GMs are kind of using that more analytical style, even in the NFL. So, yeah, when you look like you need to rebuild, hit that reset button and go on for next year, it makes sense to trade guys that are stars with 1 year left on your deal so you don't lose them for nothing. Now, do I see Saquon wanting to come back? Yes, because you saw right there. But if he's getting other offers in the offseason and he can plan to move, then why not? But I will also say this. He's from New York. He wants to stay. There's no doubt about it. His family is here. So he does want to stay in New York. So it's going to be weird because as a star player, you usually have a lot to say. And it would be a tough pill to swallow to see the guy who got drafted second overall. He's had 3 great seasons, like really good seasons. Last year, he was a top 5 running back in football. His rookie year, he was probably the best running back in football his rookie year. He was that good. He's that good. But he hasn't been healthy this year. The Giants have stunk. And let's be real. The reason they didn't give him a long-term deal in the offseason, it's because they probably knew that the Giants actually stunk. And Saquon, at 26 years old, I mean, we know how running backs age. I hate to say it, and I would love to see running backs get paid, but we also know how running backs age. Now, I would love to see Saquon finish his career with the New York Giants, and I'm sure Saquon would himself. But like he said, it's out of his control. And if the Giants lose this week, then I think they have no choice but to become sellers. And if they become sellers, then Saquon is the best trade chip. He's the guy that would get you the best return and would set you up in the draft for this year. Who knows? Next year, who knows? But if the Giants do become sellers, I think Saquon is the guy that goes not first, but he'll be the biggest trade chip. And he could get you a lot. He could get you a whole lot. But light just went out. That was weird. Who knows? But another guy that they could trade is Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller, even though they just gave him that 4-year deal, I believe, over the offseason, why not? Why not? I mean, I'm not saying because of that drop pass in the end zone last week, that was probably a pass interference on Buffalo, but didn't get called, which was kind of BS. It's like, oh, well, you got to let him play. But, the one thing I don't understand about when they don't call PI at the end of the game, it's like, oh, they let them play. Then why don't you let them play the whole game? Why change it up at the end? Just keep it consistent. I'd rather them call PI numerous times than them call PI a bunch of times in the first and second quarter, and then come the fourth quarter with the last 2 minutes, there's a clear PI call, and it's like, oh, no, well, we got to let him play. It's the end of the game. Dude, that's like the classic Little League umpire that's trying to get out of the game early. That's what that is. So he's calling it strikes for every single thing. That's what that is. That's what it seems like. So let him play at the end of the game. Dude, then let him play the whole game or call it consistently. So that's one thing that I do agree with the Giants fans is that was a clear PI call. But still, even besides the fact, Darren Waller could be a great trade chip too. And, if you're stinking, why do you want to have him? And a lot of good teams would want him. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, who knows? Maybe have him as tight end 2 behind Travis Kelce. That would be really well for them. Maybe the Buffalo Bills, who knows? There's a lot of good teams out there. And those are 2 teams that could trade for Saquon Barkley too, by the way. Yeah, there's a lot of teams out there that could want Darren Waller. The New York Jets might want Darren Waller. Who knows? Pair him with Tyler Conklin, because I'm not a big fan of CJ Uzomah, but that's besides the fact. Let's talk about Daniel Jones, a little injury update on Danny Dimes, who has 6 interceptions on the year, played 5 games so far. He's a long shot to play, according to multiple reports. Jordan Renan came out, too, and said that he's doubtful to play. So I don't expect to see Daniel Jones for a long time. Listen, he had the neck injury 2 years ago as well, the same injury. So you got to be worried. You do. And I really do hope that Daniel Jones can come back. And I'm a huge Daniel Jones guy. I do think he is a great quarterback. I think it's there. I do think it's there. When he played against Minnesota in the second round of the playoffs, not the second round of the playoffs, got to the second round of the playoffs, he got a playoff win. That's something a lot of quarterbacks in this league do not have. And not only was it a playoff win, he was the reason they won. Threw for over 300 yards, got over 3 touchdowns. That's who you want Daniel Jones to be. That's why he got that 4-year contract. And it wasn't just Daniel Jones who struggled through his first 5 games. It was the whole team. The defense sucked. Brian Daboll sucked. Saquon was hurt. Offensive line, terrible. Were there a lot of sacks on him? Yes. But in his defense, when you get sacked like 5 times, then there's going to be 5 sacks that are probably going to be on YouTube because, if I got sacked 5 times and I'm not an NFL quarterback, I never would be. I'm 10 million times away from ever being an NFL quarterback. But besides the fact, if I wasn't an NFL quarterback and I got sacked 5 times, I would probably be running for my life and trying to make plays happen. Why not? So yes, there were sacks on him when they did get sacked 11 times. But at the end of the day, they all sucked. So you can't put it completely on Daniel Jones. And he still doesn't have a true wide receiver 1. Darren Waller isn't who he was a few years back when he had consecutive 1,100 receiving yard seasons with the Oakland Raiders when he was over there. So yeah, he still hasn't had anybody besides Saquon Barkley. And when you're a quarterback, you don't just you need a wide receiver, especially in this day and age. You see Jalen Hurts, he has 2 elite receivers. Zach Wilson, he has Garrett Wilson. Tua, he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So there's teams out there with not just one. I mean, even the LA Rams, you see Puka Nacua emerging as a top threat in the league, and then they just got back Cooper Kupp. And look at Matthew Stafford loving Cooper Kupp again. You got to get a legit number one receiver in the NFL today if you want to win. Everybody always talks about defenses could win you championships, or you got to get a top quarterback to win you championships, or you got to draft the right rookie running back to get you championships. In my opinion, you want to win a championship in today's NFL, you go out there and you get Patrick Mahomes, which is not anybody but the Kansas City Chiefs, or you go out there and you get one of the best wide receivers in football. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Baker Mayfield is actually doing pretty well out in Tampa Bay. No one expected that, but look at his receivers. He has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You get your quarterback good receivers, and they will play well. We got a comment here. Do we see Wan'Dale Robinson or Darren Waller having a big game? Listen, Darren Waller, I kind of hope he has a big game, and ideally, because he could increase his trade value, I would love to see Darren Waller get traded. Wan'Dale Robinson, I could see him having a good game. You know, his first game back off the torn ACL, he had over 60 yards receiving. So, you know what? Why not? They had high hopes in him when they drafted him in the second round 2 years ago. So maybe, I'm not saying this guy's going to turn out to be a top 10 wide receiver like I was saying the Giants just needed, but I think he's a vast improvement from what they currently have, and that includes Jalen Hyatt. I mean, outside of his speed, what does Jalen Hyatt really offer? He's a guy who has big playability, but he hasn't shown it in the regular season yet. But Wan'Dale Robinson, in his first game, he showed that he can make plays happen. So who knows? Who knows? Darren Waller, I would love to see him have a big game. I mean, he's getting paid all that money. 28 receptions, 41 targets, 282 yards only on the year through 6 weeks. So that's not what you really expected out of Darren Waller and myself. Even in some of the G-Men HQ articles that I wrote over the summer about Darren Waller, I was talking about how this guy might be able to become a top tight end again. But so far, it hasn't showed. So far, it hasn't showed. And you want it to show because he's getting paid all that money. He got that 4-year deal. And you thought that he could help the Giants sneak back into the playoffs. But he hasn't. He hasn't. But Wan'Dale Robinson, on the other hand, it's a completely different situation. Second season, kind of really his first season. I mean, he was out the whole entire year in his rookie year, basically. And he comes back from the torn ACL and actually does good. He does good. Against Buffalo, 8 receptions, 62 yards. I mean, he was getting there. And you look at the size, I mean, 5'8", only 5'8". Nothing crazy. But he's quick. His route run, he's a very good route runner. Very good route runner. So I'm excited to see Wan'Dale Robinson going forward with the Giants. Hopefully the Commanders' defense isn't as it was advertised coming into the year, and it sticks to what it has been, which has given up the 28th most yards in football and the 27th most passing yards in football. Now, I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor is going to explode, but he connected with Wan'Dale Robinson 8 times last week. So who knows? Maybe they got something cooking over there. And I do maybe expect to see a big game from Wan'Dale Robinson. Darren Waller, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, based off last week, he had 43 yards, 5 receptions. So maybe. But remains to be seen. Could be proved wrong, but Wan'Dale, I do see having a big game. All right. But yeah, Danny Jones, when he comes back, I think he's going to shut up everybody. Now, if the Giants do become sellers, it's going to be interesting because that means the Giants might draft Danny Jones's potential replacement. So then next year becomes, all right, now we can cut you and it wouldn't affect the cap a year later, or you play good and we keep you and you live out the contract. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think the Giants are going to become sellers. I think they're going to draft a quarterback in the first or second round, considering the loaded quarterback draft that's upcoming. And I think it's going to be Jones's job, but I also think that rookie quarterback is going to have a chance to take it. Kind of like how Danny Jones had a chance to take Eli's job. But the thing that sucks is Jones is much younger than Eli was and hasn't won 2 Super Bowls. But 30 minutes on the Giants, which means I'm wrapping it up on the New York Giants. Also, before I do wrap it up on the New York Giants and get into some New York Jets bye-week talk, I'll say this. Brian Daboll deserves some blame. So I will be back. I will be back in about 5 minutes. So enjoy this ad of my own show when it was the Nolan Show. But taking a break from strictly New York City, I'll be right back in 3 minutes. And, even after Ohtani, what do you think? What do you think about Steve Cohen as a whole? Like, you think this guy, what do you think he did for this Mets franchise so far?
Yeah, I think starting with the first half of the question, Ohtani's certainly on the table. The biggest barrier in the Mets' way from them landing him isn't dollars, but it really is just preference. If Ohtani still has the same preference that he had entering the MLB, which is West Coast, then the likelihood of him landing with the Mets isn't as strong as, say, the Dodgers, who, while the Dodgers might not be able to put up the highest dollar for Ohtani the way that the Mets would, it wouldn't be shocking if Ohtani, say, took a slight pay cut from the Dodgers versus what the Mets offer would be. They weren't drastically different to stay in LA, that area, to be with the Dodgers and be on the championship winning type organization still. So that is the biggest hurdle in landing him. But rest assured, we've all known by now that when Cohen has his eyes set on someone, he's going to do everything physically and humanly possible to acquire them. And, I don't expect a Carlos Correa, broken ankle type situation 2.0 here with Ohtani. So rest assured, if the interest is there, which we all know it is, the Mets will at minimum do their due diligence and give a valiant effort in landing him. And should they not, especially, then you look at the Manny Machado. I think either way, the Mets are in a strong position to land one of the top free agents next year. It's just a matter of if it's going to be the best player in baseball, or is it going to be one of the best third basemen in the game? So, yeah, we'll discuss that more as we get closer to the trade deadline, depending on where the Angels are at and things of that nature. But, yeah, they will certainly be involved. And to answer the second part, yeah, Cohen, everything that I say, by now, right? He's just done an amazing job as Mets owner over the past couple of years. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple months ago, back in early January at a Mets event, and he was just, exactly what you would expect him to be. Just the fact that he goes so out of his way constantly to interact with fans, people, media, just really showing that the only difference between you and I and Cohen is the dollars and our net worth. Aside from that, the same interest level is there when it comes to being a diehard true Mets fan. That is what was the focal point in him buying the team in the first place. It wasn't because of this being a superior investment long term. No, it's because he wants to bring championships to Queens as a desperate fan, and I don't blame him. I would do the exact same thing if I had the money to back it and if I were in his shoes. So everything he's done from top down, not only in the organization with the amount of funding for the roster, which is right around double more that he's spent on guaranteed contracts alone since he became an owner, which is around $1.4 billion than the next closest owner in baseball over the past couple of years, which is Steinbrenner of the Yankees, around $880 million. Aside from investing a record amount of dollars over that period of time with on-field product, it's off the field. It's with the coaching staff with Showalter, Epler, the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that he's also spending in the analytics department, which is something that the Mets didn't even have when Cohen became owner. It's from the smallest things to the biggest things, to the medical staff. Everything and everyone that is currently a part of the Mets organization is making this look night and day from what it was just a couple years ago. And it just shows you that, having a lot of money certainly helps, but knowing how to properly allocate it into every single area of need and just to give you superiority over the next club as a rival, either in the division or just going for a championship as a whole, will certainly help do wonders for a team. And that is the case with Cohen and these New York Mets. Beyond grateful to have him as.
it sounds like there's a war going outside my apartment. So my dog's freaking out. So I'll be right back. I'm sorry, guys. I really will be right back. Give me a quick minute. But watch these Zach Wilson highlights, and then we're going to be talking some New York.
Lost it. C.J. Uzomah. Got it. Touchdown. Eight for the first down. Wilson throwing end zone. Touchdown. Alan Lazard. What a drive.
Wilson going down the sideline for Garrett Wilson. Makes the adjustment and the grab.
Well, look at him elevate for this ball over Job. And I just love that Zach Wilson trusted Garrett Wilson to go make this throw. Shoot.
Play action. Lost it. C.J. Uzomah. Got it. Touchdown.
All right, I hate to have to do this. But since I already got the Giants talk out of the way, and it sounds like there's a war zone going outside my apartment right now, and the dog is kind of freaking out, I may have to attend to the situation. So in a few moments, if this continues to happen, I might have to cut this. Yeah. Y'all can hear. I think I gotta cut this one short, considering it sounds like there's a war zone going up outside my apartment right now, and the dogs are having a heart attack. So I'll give it 5 to 10 seconds. But if I hear another squeal, I might have to wrap it up. All right, let's get this Jets takes out of the way. Because, oh my God, Jesus. I don't know what's going on.
Play action. Lost it.
Played very well in his last 3 weeks. In his last 3 weeks, he's gone up against Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Jalen Hurts.
8 for the first down.
Former MVP, and the guy who was the runner-up last year for MVP. Now I know what Russell Wilson's watched, but dude, Zach might be a good quarterback, and now he just has to be a game manager. That was a great throw. Great throw. Great catch by Garrett Wilson there. Anybody who says this guy's my top 5
trusted Garrett Wilson to go make this throw.
But yeah. The booms are getting closer. All right. Well, anyways, so 3-3 at the bye week. Upcoming opponents you see right there. They got the New York Giants after the bye week, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Falcons, and then Houston. And then they got a few more games after that. They'll have Miami. They'll have New England, obviously, in the last game, which will be very interesting to see. But these upcoming opponents on their schedule is key because they had, even with Aaron Rodgers, the first 6 games of this season would have been tough. If they came out 3-3, people still would have been like, okay, the Jets are still in a good position. So when you're with Zach Wilson and you're 3-3, you're in a really good position, especially when your upcoming opponents are the New York Giants, the Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the Buffalo Bills who you beat, the Dolphins. That's going to be tough. But then after that, Atlanta, going to be good. And then Houston, going to be good again. So the Jets, they got a shot at actually making the playoffs. I really think that this Jets team, even if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, but there are already reports that he might be back as soon as week 15, but I'll save that for another day. Zach Wilson has proved to me, and I was the biggest Zach Wilson non-believer. I was saying bench this guy since last season, since week 2 last season. I'd have nothing. I didn't want anything to do with Zach Wilson. Didn't want anything to do with him. This defense is amazing. They forced numerous turnovers, I believe 9 interceptions combined against Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Pat Mahomes, arguably the 3 best quarterbacks in football. And this defense continues to step up. And Zach Wilson showed it against the Kansas City Chiefs that he can do it. And in the Denver, yeah, that 1 turnover he had, but still, he was trying to get the ball into Garrett's hands. And then last week, he did what he needed to do. Didn't make any turnovers, not a fumble, not an interception. Zach Wilson against the Giants, he can air it out. Because they got a terrible secondary outside of McKinney and Deontay Banks. Air it out. And I think with the next 3 opponents, I think the Jets might be 6-3 going up against Buffalo. And then they have Miami. So if they can scratch out of that 1-1 and be 7-4 going into Atlanta and Houston, then you're telling me that I would say that they would go 9-4. And then just around then, Rodgers might be back week 15, supposedly. I mean, give him a few more extra weeks of rest. Let Zach keep cooking. I think by week 15, this team could seriously be 9-4. But it remains to be seen. But that's all I got for you guys today. Just New York football. Monday night. We're going to be going live, 6:30. I'm going to be talking a lot of overreaction Monday about New York Giants. Going to be talking the preview, Giants, Jets. We're going to try getting some guests down here. If I can get Celso up in here, I'm going to get him in here. Also, I want to talk some Knicks, dude. I do want to talk some Knicks. So I'm going to take one more quick break, and I'm actually going to wrap things up with a little bit of New York Knicks talk. But actually, now there's a war zone going outside. I'm wrapping it up.